What's going on, Ghosties? Welcome back to Tales of Spooky Coffee House. If you're new here, welcome. We are your hosts. I am Veronica,
And I'm Chelsea.
and we have a special episode for you today. It's not a normal episode where we talk about a serial killer, we talk about a haunted location, we do a tarot card reading. This episode, we're going to be talking about our own personal experiences we've had with the paranormal. And I'm really excited to see what else Chelsea has to say, because if you've listened to the past 5 episodes, she has some really great, stories that, I don't know. You bring fear into me, dude. I don't know. It's one thing hearing, someone tell someone a scary story, but when you tell someone a story from experience, I don't know.
Yeah, it's freakier.
It is freakier, dude. So I'm really excited to get to that. So let's catch up. Chelsea, how are you? What are you drinking?
Today I am drinking actually a cold brew coffee.
Mm.
It's something that my mother-in-law had in the fridge because, I like to just drink all my mother-in-law's stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just in my head when I said that, I was like, I've said that for the last 3 episodes, but
Well,
anyways.
you said that you got her a bunch of flavors, right? So it's not, they could get expired. You're doing her a favor.
Yeah, well, and she babysits my kids here at my house, and we cook dinner together and everything. So we buy each other everything right now. But anyways, the coffee is Prairie Farms mocha iced coffee.
Mm.
Yeah, it's kind of chocolatey. I kind of wish it was not as thick, but I think if I put ice or something in there, it would thin out some. But it's really good.
That sounds good.
Are you drinking coffee today?
Actually, I am. I'm drinking an iced vanilla latte, but it's decaf because I can't have caffeinated drinks. But yeah, I'm drinking coffee for once because you know what? I'm excited for this episode. It's special to me. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna get coffee because I'm tired of this bitch asking me all the time too.
Well, and see, it's funny that you say that because today I was legitimately asking if you were drinking coffee because I didn't ask before we started recording.
Uh-huh.
And I was just legitimately asking. I wasn't being a bitch about it like usual.
Yeah, I was expecting the whole. So, Veronica. No, I'm not. No.
Okay, everybody that's listening, I'm gonna make T-shirts that says "So Veronica," and make sure you buy
Ew.
them, tag Veronica in them, and tag us in them.
No, please don't. Don't buy it. Okay, so I have a couple questions for you, Chelsea.
Okay.
Okay, the first question I have for you, if you got trapped in one scary movie, which would you choose?
Ooh. So trapped as in we would be the victims, or trapped as in you could make a change in the movies?
No, living within that world.
Oh, okay, so just living within the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to give you my real answer or my socially acceptable answer.
When have you ever been socially... Girl, tell me the real answer, please.
Um, I would probably want to be in the Scream universe.
Of course.
Yeah, of course, that. It should have been obvious. But I don't want to be the victim. I want to be Billy Loomis's partner and save him from being killed.
Who?
Oh, oh dear God. Uh, Billy Loomis
Mm-hmm.
in the first Scream movie.
Mm-hmm. I know you have a crush on this guy. I think you mentioned him before or something.
Yes, I have mentioned him before, so you should know who the fuck he is.
Jesus.
So yeah, I would be his girlfriend and help kill people and
Oh, is he the one played
kill.
by what's his face?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, yes. Yes, I know.
So, I'm talking character names, not real people's names.
Yeah. Well, at
But
least
yeah,
I know who you're talking about. Mhm.
yeah, if I'm gonna be stuck in a horror movie, I'm gonna be the killer. I'm not gonna play a victim.
That sounds fun. Good for you. Good for you, Chelsea.
I mean, you didn't say, you said the universe, and I know I asked if I had to be a victim, and you were just like, no, it's got to be in the universe. So, you know. Anyways, what movie would you be
Um,
stuck in? No,
um,
because I know it's not going to be Halloween, because there's no way you're going to get Michael Myers to fall in love with you.
oh no, no, no. What's, I don't know. I would say that's a really good question, Chelsea.
It was your own question.
I wasn't prepared with an answer.
Always, always be prepared for an answer with any question that you ask me, because 90% of the time I'm going to ask it back.
I'll probably want to live in a world where like it is real because you know what? There's just too many children, you know?
When you first said it, I didn't know where that answer was going. But as soon as
Like if you were to hear the screaming children at work the other day, I was like, oh my god.
I don't know about you, but I listen to children screaming every single day.
Exactly. Wouldn't it help?
Uh, so did you forget the part where I'm terrified of clowns?
Well, see, bring that terror to your kids, bro.
But I'm not gonna bring that terror to my kids because I'm gonna be running away.
All right, all right. Okay, I'm gonna go on to my second question for you.
Okay.
Do you have to watch something happy after watching a horror movie so you can go to sleep? If so, what movie is it? Or what do you
No,
watch? You
no,
don't?
no.
Okay, all right. You know what? Your answer doesn't even surprise me.
Do you?
Yeah, of course I do.
You're so dumb.
I'm fucking normal, bro.
I'm normal.
How am I dumb?
Because you have to watch. You literally watch scary movies to get scared, and then you're admitting that you get so scared you have to watch something to make you laugh.
Not always. There's been times where like, so you know, I like watching my YouTube videos of like haunted places and like ghost
Oh,
hunting
that
and shit.
doesn't count. That does not count.
What do you mean it doesn't count?
It doesn't count because those are like reality TV show type things. Like,
Horror movie? I guess. I mean, I'll still watch something happy after if I'm too scared.
what movies made you like want to watch something happy after? Well, I actually, you know what? That's technically you can answer that with my actual question for you because the one of the questions I was going to ask you is
Mm-hmm.
what horror movie do you find the most disturbing? So like you
Mm.
could answer both of those.
Okay, well, it would like I can do gory movies, but for some reason I sat through. I think it's called Green Inferno. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I watched that one, and that one was just I don't know how I sat there watching the whole thing without like hiding my face, you know, like digging my face into a pillow. But yeah, movies like that, and also like the Blair Witch Project. They didn't
Yeah.
show shit in the first movie, but goddamn, that shit was scary, dude. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we talked about that before about how that got you into like the paranormal and everything.
It did because I don't know, it just scared me so much, and like I think I enjoyed that like feeling. I was like, it got me like I don't know, it just sparked an interest in me. I don't know, it's weird. But yeah, it's movies like that, like where it's more kind of realistic, like that shit could happen, you know? I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
You like watching movies though that are like based on true stories, like horror movies?
That's great. Yeah, I love the Conjuring movies, even though they're obviously like a little overdone for, you know, Hollywood purposes. I love the Conjuring and like thinking, oh my gosh, this like actually happened. I wonder what it was like in like real time, you know? Like, I don't know. I just like, yeah.
Okay, so what movie do you have to watch after that to make you feel better?
Oh, I don't think you've heard of it, so don't worry about it.
No, the way that you're answering that, you need to tell me now.
No, you know, you see, like, the thing is that I've already embarrassed myself, like, the past, like, 3 episodes,
Is it the
and
fucking Mandalorian movie?
no, It's not actually movie. It's a show. But no, it's not actually.
Okay, that's surprising.
Yeah,
No,
it
but
made.
tell me, what is it?
It's just like this like small movie, and it's called Cars. And like it's one of my stop. It's like one of my favorite movies of all time. What? Stop. It's not funny.
Of all the fucking movies, Veronica.
I love Cars. Okay? Mater makes me laugh. Like me and Mater are homies, dude.
I
You
don't
know,
know. I don't know what I was expecting your answer to be, but Cars was not it.
do I ever let you down? But you know what?
No, you
Because
really don't. I never, half the time I never expect what you're gonna say.
but like, okay, so I know you brought up Mandalorian already, but I need to bring up Pedro Pascal. I'm gonna bring him up like once an episode.
There we go.
You know what movie he watches after a scary movie?
What?
He watches Wall-E. I feel like that's worse.
No.
No. What do you mean?
I think Cars is worse.
What?
You know,
Anyways,
maybe I'm just biased. I don't know.
dude, I love Cars. Cars is literally like one of my favorite movies of all time, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'll say it loud and proud. You know, my light switch in my room, I don't know if you saw it when you broke in. Oh, actually, no, because I didn't let you in my room because it was messy. So you know
Yeah.
how, like, the light switch, there's that box thingy that goes around it?
Yeah.
So mine literally has Lightning McQueen and Mater on it, and I've had it like that since, like, 6th grade or something like that.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it.
Alright, anyways.
Did you just like randomly forget that we've been best friends for like 2 decades now?
Bitch, I don't stop bringing up the numbers, right?
I was gonna say something and I forgot.
Oh wait, I have another. I'm seeing this note on my notebook. It's saying Chelsea is a bitch. Oh, I mean witch.
Oh, gee, thanks.
Well, you are a bitch. You're an asshole.
I learned from the best. You're a year older, so.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it does. I learned from you.
First of all, I'm not an asshole.
Yes, you are.
Anyway, so are you a witch or what?
Yeah.
You are. So I kind of remember the early days of you practicing witchcraft or like spells and stuff. Do you still consider yourself Wiccan? Because that's what I remember you considered yourself like in the beginning.
Yeah, that's when I was like first learning everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of, I don't know. I don't want to use the term identify. I almost used it too. Um, I think it's more of like a Celtic witch. I kind of dabble in a lot of different techniques and stuff. I don't just, um, like I do things that like green witches do and divination witches, and I kind of just dabble in everything. So
And can you tell me about the moment where you realized like this is something I want to do and learn more of?
I was in middle school, I think, and I don't know what exactly it was that just got me into looking up things.
Mm-hmm.
But I was searching witchcraft and stuff like that on the computer, and I found this book, and actually I still have it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically like a guide to witchcraft for teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, actually, you know what? It was the time where I like really started getting into reading, and my grandparents were buying me books.
Mm-hmm.
It was around the time. It was like around that time, like I had been reading vampires, and I was like, I'm kind of over vampires. That's when I read the Night World series,
Mm-hmm.
and they have witches in that series, and I was like, I kind of wanted to like read something about witchcraft, and I bought this book, the guided the witchcraft guidebook for teenagers, and I asked my grandparents to buy it, and my
Mm-hmm.
grandparents are, well, they're very religious,
Yup.
and so I didn't want them like to know, and so I just literally told them, I was like, oh yeah, it's book about witches, and because they knew I was reading vampires, and so they just kind of like shrugged. They're like, okay, it's about they're like, now she's going into something new. So they bought me this book, and it got in the mail, and I hid it under my pillow. I hid it under my mattress. Wherever I could hide it, I hid it, and I would read it.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to read like a section a night if I could get away with it. And then my mom and I moved to Vegas for those couple months, and I hid the book under my pillow like I normally do. Well, at the time I was sleeping on the floor at my uncle's house because my mom had the bed and I didn't want to share the bed with her. I was in that, I'm a big girl phase. I don't want to share the bed with my mom.
Yeah.
So I was sleeping on the floor, and her and my cousin moved all the like bedding stuff that I had set up because they were going to rearrange the room. And my mom found this book when they got there, or like when they finished, and I got to the house because I was out or something. And as soon as I walked into that room, I started panicking because I was like, oh my God, all my stuff is gone, which means they found the book. And my mom is sitting on the bed and she looks at me and she's very, very calm. Okay. And she's like, do you have something you want to tell me? If you knew how mom is when there's nobody else around, she asks questions like that, and the look on her face, you know how scary that one question can be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know. Cause, deep down, I'm hoping I got lucky. She didn't find the book, and she pulls the book out, of course. And she goes, I found this today. And I tell you that I turned into the most babbling, scared little kid that you've ever met. I was like, Mom, I'm so sorry. I was curious. I wanted to know. And she just looks at me and she goes, stop. She goes, I wish you had told me about this sooner. And then she just starts pulling out all this witchcraft shit. Yeah, my mom is the witch too.
Undercover witch.
Yeah, that's how I found out. And that's how I came out to my mom.
Dude, that's such a beautiful story. I love that though. I love that. Because I was gonna ask, wasn't your mom into witchcraft too?
Yeah. And I never put the pieces together, and I always I don't know if subconsciously my interest in witchcraft came from her, because the more that I had thought about it after that coming out story, I was like, you know what? She does have a lot of crystals all over the house. She has a set of tarot cards, and she's I always smell like herbs and stuff burning. She was always burning stuff, and she loves candles. And I was like, there was so many signs all over the house.
Yeah.
And I grew up around it, so I think it was probably because she wasn't trying to push it on me like my grandparents were with their religion. So it was kind of one of those, I thought she was religious just because they were. And I tried so hard to be religious for my grandma. I really did try. But I couldn't, I had too many questions. I questioned too many things. And I found out later that actually my mom questioned everything that they were teaching them in church. And the priest finally told her that she needed to stop.
Wow.
Yeah. And when she told me that, I was just like, oh my God, I'm so glad I'm not alone. And I think that was because I've always been really close with my mom. And I think that was the turning point of, oh shit, I can really tell her anything and she won't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I got into witchcraft.
I love that. But you know what? I think that's just I mean, this is my opinion. I hope no one really gets offended, because for a moment I forgot we were doing a podcast. I feel like it's just you and me talking right now. So I don't want anyone to get offended by what I'm gonna say. I don't mean it in any ways. It's just my opinion, the way I see things. But I feel like, at least as far as being a Catholic goes, just religious, it's more on faith and hope, and rather than facts almost. So, but you know what? not, I don't want to say I gave in, but I grew up as a Catholic as well. So when I would go over to Nana's house and hang out with her and Grampy, when you and Mom moved out, they'd like invite me to church and I'd be like, yeah, let's go. Like, I didn't mind church at all. The only thing that like, not that I was uncomfortable, but like the mass was in English and I'm used to saying all the prayers in Spanish and I didn't know a word of the prayers in English. So I was just sitting there like, I promise you I know how to pray. I just don't know it in English. Sorry.
Oh, that's funny.
But
Yeah, no, actually, I've had a conversation with Nona about that before, and you have no idea how much it meant to both of them, that you went with them.
really?
Yeah, because I refused.
Yeah, that's why I'm the favorite. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, as soon as I realized like my mom had like the same opinions as me and stuff, because
Yeah.
I told Efren I had to tell my grandparents that I couldn't go anymore because they, I used to just tell them like, oh, like it's boring and all this other stuff because I didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
heart to tell them that I didn't believe a single word that anybody was saying
Yeah.
because I I'm not a fact. I don't need facts to believe in something. I'm very faith based.
Mm-hmm.
As far as just having the faith, like, because that's all that witchcraft is manifesting. If you believe it, it's gonna happen. You're gonna draw it to you. But I can't handle somebody sitting there telling me, this is what God said. You can't do this. You can't do that.
Yeah.
There's so many inconsistencies and there's so many contradictions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not so much the religion as it is how the religion is projected.
Yeah. And again, these are our opinions, guys. Like honestly, like the way I am, and I'm 100% sure this is how Chelsea is, but I don't want to speak for her. Like, I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what God you believe in. I don't care if you don't believe in a God. But if you want to share your story, I'd be more than happy to hear you. Like, I want to see how you perceive the world, how you perceive religion or spirituality or, whatever it is. I think it becomes a problem when people really like push it on you. I don't think it should be that way. Like I think everyone should be able to express themselves and like, yeah, have the right to like speak their mind and stuff, but don't force it on other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I don't like. That's where I draw the line. Like if you're going to try to push something on me, like no, get out of my face. But if you want to tell me something, you believe in A, I believe in B. Yo, that's cool. Like let me hear why you believe in A. Like I'm curious, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. I've actually, I really like talking to people that are open-minded. If if somebody's closed-minded and they just like,
It's
you
hard.
know, yeah, it's very hard to talk to people like that because if they're that way with religion, they're most likely that way with everything else.
Mhm.
I have talked to a couple people who they're like, you know what, I'm very set on this belief. I don't want to talk about it.
Mhm.
But it's the fact that they can say, I'm set on this belief and I don't want to talk about it. Those are
Mhm.
the ones that are usually still open minded enough where they know what they believe. It gets, it's upsetting for them to talk about anything else. I get that.
Mhm.
Um, but it's the fact that they're willing to say that makes them,
You just respect
more,
it more.
they're more respecting about it. They're more open minded about it. Even if they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Um, and I've also talked to people who were like, yeah, like let's discuss this like it's a debate or something. And I'm like, okay. And there was actually one person I had never met them before, never
Mhm.
met them before until this one time. I think we were at my old school's library, and I literally sat there talking to this person for 4 fucking hours about religion and faith and beliefs.
Wow.
Yeah, and we both looked at the clock and we're like, "Oh shit!" I didn't get home until like 9 o'clock at night that night because it was like a drive for me for school. And my mom was like,
Mhm.
"Where you been? Like, where have you been?" I'm like, "I've been talking about religion with this somebody at school," and she's like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah,
It's an interesting topic. It's not like
yeah."
we're so against it we don't want to talk about it. It's just so interesting, like there's so much, I don't know, there's just so much out there involving
There's so
religion.
much to discuss, especially when like it's not so much. like every religion's interpretation, but it's every person, like individuals in that
Mm-hmm.
religion. Like it's fascinating. I love it. I took a religions class when I was in college, and I absolutely loved it.
I'm gonna recommend 2 books really quick, and I know this is really random, and I'm not really gonna talk about the books, maybe somewhere down the line, but I highly recommend you guys read The Alchemist. It's an amazing book. The Alchemist. The second book is Franny and Zoe. So The Alchemist, Franny and Zoe, read those 2 books. You'll see why it's gonna relate to like what we've been talking about right now. But
I
yeah.
was wondering.
No, it has to
When
do
you
with what we're
started
talking
talking, I was
about.
like, when you started like talking about them, I'm like, what the hell do those 2 books have to do with what we were just talking about?
No, it involves like just The Alchemist will, I mean, just write those books down, look them up. If you're a reader, order them. You won't regret it.
So, Veronica,
Oh God, yes.
I got one more question for you.
Oh, okay.
What mythical monster do you fear the most if it was real? Like whether you believe it's real or like if you had to choose something that wasn't, just if any mythical monster in the world was real, what would you be terrified of?
My my mind's going straight to one answer, but that's not my answer at all. But my brain just is going straight to it, and it's
What is it?
La Llorona.
What is that?
You've never heard of La Llorona?
It sounds familiar, but I can't pick it up on the top of my head.
Okay, so Supernatural season 1, episode 1, The Girl in White. It's about it's a
Oh, why
similar
didn't you just say
storyline
the woman in white?
because it's specifically she's called La Llorona. Or if you're familiar with TikTok, that guy called it La Lorena. But she's pretty much yes, the lady in white, sure.
It's the
Who
Mexican version.
Yeah, who drowned. Well, I'm pretty sure that's where the episode came from, is the actual Mexican version, the legit version, where the mother drowns her children, and of course she ends up regretting it, kills herself, and her spirit just is crying in the streets, yelling for her kids. If you go on YouTube, look up La Llorona in Mexico, like you're not gonna understand shit, but you're gonna feel the fear that those people feel in those videos, like when they're supposedly encountering her. But yeah, something about like a crying mother for her kids, that's just it's a trigger for me personally, and it's also just disturbing in general, you know. But I don't think that's like that should. I don't know. I don't want to make that my answer because that, I don't know. It's not
It's interesting
scary.
though
It's
that
disturbing.
it's interesting that that would disturb you though, because like you don't. I don't mean this in like a bad way for those that are listening, but you don't like kids.
I do like kids actually. I just don't like bad kids. I'm I'm really great with kids and I love kids, but yeah, it's the crazy, the monster ones where it's like I get more mad at the parents, you know, but then again, it's not all their fault, you know. But yeah, I don't want to say
So
I hate kids.
so is it? It's not the fact that she's a ghost or anything. It's just the like she terrifies you because she killed her kids.
Okay, so I'm gonna get personal then, really quick, so you guys can
Okay.
understand why it's disturbing for me. And this is really personal. So a couple years ago, my brother passed away. And when my brother passed away, I have never heard someone cry and scream for their child the way my mom did. And it it haunts me till this day. But obviously, like, I've done my best to heal and move on from that trauma the past 2 years since it's happened. So that's where the disturbing part comes in, where you hear her crying and yelling and wailing. Like, that would be a trigger for me. It would disturb me like crazy. But that's it. Not the fact that she killed her children or the fact that she's a ghost. Just the actual hearing her crying and yell. That's like, ill. Like, stop. You know?
Damn.
Yeah, that got real, huh?
Yeah, that got real, like real deep, real quick. And I was just legitimately asking you because I wasn't understanding, and now I
Yeah.
get it, and now I
I
can't
I
get
had a
your mom
feeling.
screaming out of my head.
Yeah, I had a feeling I was gonna have to explain myself, which I don't mind. I'm okay talking about the freaking trauma that happened in 2020 with my family, but yes, I would like to avoid La Llorona. Thank you very much.
And I completely understand why now. Okay, so what's your actual answer then?
Oh shit. A mythical creature. Gosh, I don't know. Probably, listen, after the Blair Witch Project, you will never catch me like camping in the woods. So it would be some creature that lives in the woods. What's the one that can make itself sound like other people?
A Wendigo?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say that.
Interesting.
Why?
Because a outdoorsy person, I guess?
I am, listen,
So
I'll go to the woods at night, but I will not sleep in the woods at night. If I'm not in control, if I don't have any type of power, like, you know what I mean? Like, no. But,
makes sense.
yeah. But I'm talking to, like, in the middle of the woods. Like, I don't mind going to, like, like Huntington Park or Huntington Gardens or Huntington Library. Huntington
Okay.
Library.
Yeah, I know what you mean now. Okay, that makes sense. So like you would go camping and stuff, just not in the dead center of the woods.
Hell no. And if I've only gone camping to the beach in, like, Ensenada, Baja California. Um, So I'll do that type of camping, but not in the woods. Not at all. No, thank you. If we're like in an RV or some shit, I'll think about it. I'd love to stay in a cabin, but you best believe I'm gonna be like scared. But then again, I'll have people with me.
That's true.
Yeah.
So last week's episode, we talked about the Colorado Bridge. We didn't go into a lot of detail
Mm-hmm.
because we were saving it for this episode. We gave the history and all that. So if you're interested in why this bridge is haunted, you guys can go check out the last episode. But right now, we're going to talk about our personal experience there
Mm-hmm.
and what we were trying to achieve, what happened, and why we left.
Ugh, I'm ready. I'm ready to relive that night once again. It's so fun for me. I don't know. Just,
It was a crazy night.
it was a crazy night. And you know what? I'm really curious to know, like, what was going through your mind before, like, you came out here, right? You came out here,
Yeah, so I
and
went to California for a funeral, and Veronica and I haven't seen each other in what,
4 or 5
5 years?
years,
Yeah,
yeah,
4 years.
it's a good break. I'm not gonna lie, but uh, so we've already planned before you even coming out here that we were gonna go to the Colorado Bridge. So in that time, what were your thoughts? What were you thinking? And then when we were literally driving to the bridge, what were your thoughts and what were you thinking?
I was excited. I was also a bit tired. It was really hard to get on a mountain time schedule from an Eastern time. And so I was just taking naps like in and out so I could hang out with everybody as much as possible. And my nap before we went out to the Colorado Bridge was not successful. My kids were not going to sleep.
Mm.
Um, so I don't know if that played a role in how I went through with everything there, but so I was a little bit tired. I'm not so much tired, but exhausted. But I was super excited because we were going to be recording an episode. We were trying to do something different. We were trying to do, instead of having our notes and our research pre-planned, we were going to do everything like impromptu and just record our reactions and have like a fun episode.
Mhm.
That went really, really bad, but but I also knew that we were going to be in the haunted location. We had the plan of trying to communicate with any spirits that were there. So I wanted to open my mind up a bit.
Mhm.
So I did use marijuana because for everybody listening, it is legal in California, just to help like open my mind and relax. And we were both excited. And as soon as we got there and I stepped out, I instantly had the worst feeling ever.
And you know what? So right before you stepped out of the car, though, because I actually have a question here written down that I wanted to ask you, is how did you feel driving on the bridge?
I definitely felt weird. Not like a
Mm-hmm.
bad weird or anything, just kind of like I felt the shift in energy, I guess. Because for those of you that don't know, I'm very open to that kind of thing. I try to block it out as much as possible, but like I said, I wanted an open mind, so I definitely felt the shift in energy, but it wasn't it wasn't a negative energy like when we stepped out. It was just different.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fine up until, I guess it wasn't like right as I stepped out. It was just as soon as we started walking in, it just, the feeling kept getting worse and worse and worse.
The closer we got to the actual bridge.
Yeah.
Did you calm down at all once we sat down at that table, or was it just kind of like getting a little worse?
It wasn't getting worse, but it wasn't getting better. It was just kind of like a standstill feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we sat down and we were trying to get to work and I kept pushing it off. Like, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Like, that's probably what it is. And then the longer we stayed there, the more anxious it was making me. Like, it wasn't, like, the feeling, like I said, wasn't getting worse, but the longer I was in that feeling, like, the worse, like, my reaction to it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started getting cold.
Oh, yeah. It was freezing.
Yeah, and I'm like literally that week it had snowstormed right before I left to California. So I literally came from negative-degree weather to, what was it, like 60 out there?
It was at, yeah, 60.
And I was dead freezing. Like, I felt like I was standing outside in Indiana during that winter storm and not in California in 60-degree weather.
Yeah, I did find that odd because I've obviously I've been to the bridge many times, but I feel like that was just like the coldest night I've ever experienced at the bridge. But it wasn't even like a cold day. You know
Yeah,
what
it
I
wasn't
mean?
a
Like
cold
it was
day.
a
It wasn't a
beautiful
cold night.
day.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And like literally when we got back to Nana's house, we were fine. Like, the weather outside was great. There was no cold chill. Like, there was a little bit of wind, but not enough to make us freezing like we were.
Yeah.
I had my fingers in between my legs trying to warm them up. Shut
Mhm.
up. And it just, like, I could feel the cold and they just kept getting colder even with the warmth, and I was just like, okay, this is weird.
And then I do have one more question before we get into like the specifics of like what we experienced. Was there something specific that you were scared of possibly hearing or seeing?
The only thing that really terrified me, to be honest, is that somebody was going to commit suicide while we were there. That was my worst fear.
Oof.
I don't know. There is something about, um, I can talk about murder all day and talk about, what triggers a person to become a murderer, but suicide is hard for me. I've attempted suicide before. I've talked to people who were suicidal, and that was my worst fear, was somebody was going to jump over there. And I don't know, maybe that played something into the feeling I got while we were there, but I wasn't thinking about it necessarily. So,
And I did this for episode 5, and I think it's important to do it now as well. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, you think they're gonna harm themselves or are thinking of committing suicide, I do have the suicide hotline number, which is 1-800-273-8255. Just wanted to put that in there because yeah, it's heavy. It's heavy.
yeah, it really is. And sometimes I forget to, like, we're doing a podcast, so I'm so glad you remember to put, like, that number in and stuff.
Of course. Okay, so we're there. We're sitting down. We're trying to record a version of episode 5. What was one of the first things that really spooked us? Because I feel like it was the seeing something from the corner of my eye. I think it was like to my left, to your right. And then, it also happened to my right, but at first it was to my left. And then I think I heard footsteps. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, so you kept saying that you kept seeing something moving. I never seen anything move. We both heard the footsteps, and from behind me, I swear I could feel somebody watching me, and it sounded like somebody was moving in the bushes. With that, it wasn't so much footprints as it was like the rustling of the plants. Some people could chalk that up to the wind and stuff, but
It was not windy that night. There was maybe a slight breeze, but not windy at all.
Not enough. Yeah, not enough to make the bushes move like they sounded like they were doing. So
Yeah. Cause like, I, okay, so after the first time that I like see something from the corner of my eye and I look to see what it is, that's what happened. I looked and there's like a tree with like branches, but once I look away, my brain knows that there's a tree there and there's branches. So whenever I see movement, and my brain just knows it's the tree, and I don't think of anything else, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, even after looking over my shoulder so many times, the thing I saw in the corner of my eye, it was more like someone walking, like someone was walking by. And I genuinely thought there were people walking by. That's why I would stay quiet and look over. But I think we only have like maybe one or two people, like two couples that walked by, and they weren't even there for that long. They actually like,
Yeah, and you really couldn't hear their footsteps.
yeah, you know what? Good point. We couldn't hear their footsteps yet. We thought we heard footsteps like behind us, and it wasn't even right behind us. It was like a little distance of away, like down that path.
Yeah, they were a good quarter mile away from us.
That's wild. So then we're sitting there, we're tripping out on seeing things from the corner of our eyes, hearing the footsteps, and we decide, you know what, this isn't enough. let's
Yeah.
pull out let's pull out the dowsing rods, and let's pull out, I have an app on my phone that's supposed to be like a spirit box. Is it trustworthy? I don't know, but I pulled it out just in case because I've used it before at the Colorado Bridge. And what I mentioned to Chelsea was every time I used that app on my phone and I'd ask how many people were there with us, I'd always get the same numbers. It'd either be 7 or 9. And I wanted to keep an ear out, and I told Chelsea, let me know if you hear those numbers. I don't remember if we did. I feel like I remember tripping out and hearing an answer that like I told you we were going to hear, but I don't remember if it was that or something else.
Yeah, it started with you asked of how many people were here and it said 7. But it was very almost
Mm-hmm.
incoherent. And so you were like, are there's 7 people here? And it sounded like it was either 9 or it was no. It was one of those two words. So we were like, are there 7 or 9 people here? And then it like clear as day said 11.
I remember 11. Dang, that's just so wild.
Yeah. And like as soon as it said 11, like I got chills down my back because I had already felt like we were being watched, but like having a number of how many people were there just made it that much more pressing.
Yeah. You you
But
def you definitely don't feel alone when you go to this bridge.
yeah,
And
for sure.
it doesn't have to be a bad vibe either, because like I go there to eat lunch. You know what I mean? Like I go there to take pictures. Like it's not all bad vibes unless like you're overthinking it, which is understandable, but I don't know. I never feel threatened when I'm there.
Yeah, I didn't feel threatened. I like the feelings that I was getting was just anger,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt like I like it felt like the walls were closing in on me. But
Mm-hmm.
we were literally outside, like there's no walls, but it was just that pressure.
You know what I wish we would have done?
What?
Do you remember the park?
Yeah.
I wish I could have thought in that moment to like tell you, hey, let's go sit at a bench by the park and just see what happens.
That's okay. We can do that next time.
All right, cool. Oh, but kid ghosts are like scarier. I don't think any kids, well, actually, I don't know if like kids that have lost their lives there, but I do know of a teenager. I don't know if you remember this stupid ass challenge that these kids came up with a few years ago.
What, the Tide Pods?
No, no, no. It was a challenge where you had to follow certain rules and you had to do different things, to where like the last thing you did was take your own life. And a lot of kids, like teenagers, were committing suicide because of that game slash challenge. And one of the teenagers, if I'm not wrong or incorrect, whatever, like took their lives there at the bridge.
Hmm. I didn't hear about that challenge.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up and I'll bring it up next episode. But yeah, it's just this like challenge where you have to do like, for example, 10 things, right? And like there's 10 different challenges, and the last challenge is eventually to take your own life. And it was on the news. I remember like a young girl ended up committing suicide. That boy jumped off the bridge. It was sad.
I wonder if that was just a challenge that was like out there.
I think it is. It was like it's not something the kids came up with. I think it's like something dark that just came out, you know, and got the attention of some of these kids. But I'll look into it. I'll look into it, and I'll definitely bring it up because it's interesting. It's sad. It's related to like, you know, what we're talking about right now. But yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so we were, after we used the app, we started using the dowsing rods. Before we get into like our experience with that, so these were your dowsing rods. I've never used them before that day. So you want to just tell us about like how you got into those?
Yeah. So I got introduced to dowsing rods via YouTube videos. Yeah, obviously I've mentioned this so many times, but I love watching ghost hunting videos on YouTube. And one of the things that they use are dowsing rods. And so I went on Amazon one day. I saw they weren't that, you know, expensive. I'm gonna order these, right? I prefer to use the dowsing rods over like an Ouija board because I don't know. They're known for opening doorways for evil to come and like, get you. You know what I mean? At least that's how I see it.
Oh, that's just a superstition.
Well, after a while of having the dowsing rods, actually I looked it up, and they say that dowsing rods are worse than the Ouija board. But at that point, I was already used them like so many times. So yeah, I ordered them. I didn't really use them that much in the beginning, and then again, I'm gonna get personal. So when my brother passed away, he passed away March 2020, and it was the hardest at that time, the hardest passing that I've ever like experienced, the hardest death, you know, it just hit me so hard. I was angry, I was depressed, I was anxious, I was paranoid. I wanted to communicate with him. I wanted some kind of sign from him. And I had the dowsing rods, so I think I was on lunch from work, and I went to go park by this trail in the city next to where I live. And I like going there for lunch. It's really peaceful. It's beautiful. And I had the dowsing rods in my car because I believe I had used them at the Colorado Bridge with a friend at the time. And I decided in that moment, I'm going to try to communicate with my brother. Whether you guys believe it or not, cool. You do you with your opinion. Don't judge me for my experience. And I started asking questions in a way where he would know how to answer. Like, are you aware of, you know, the tattoo I got for you? And, you know, the dowsing rod said yes. I forgot I remember the other questions I've asked. They're really personal, so I'm not gonna say it, but yeah, that was the first time where me using the dowsing rods was extremely like personal, and they were working like 100%. And they didn't work that way until you and I went to the Colorado Bridge. But even then, at the Colorado Bridge, when we were using the dowsing rods, I always hear them say it in the YouTube videos, like, oh my God, I could feel the dowsing rods like vibrating, you know, like, or wanting to move. At the Colorado Bridge with you, when I was holding them, I actually like felt that. I felt like a vibration. I felt like a little to it, you know?
Yeah, before I handed them over to you, I felt that too.
Yeah, and I don't know. I didn't feel that when I was talking to my brother, but you know, it still helped me to like communicate with him one way or another. So yeah, but one of the other things that happened was a few days after my brother passed away. My bed is right next to my window. I was laying in bed. I was just thinking, you know, just laying there thinking. And out of nowhere, my window starts shaking. And I remember laying there not scared, just thinking, what the fuck? Right?
It wasn't an earthquake?
Well, I put my hand up to my wall, was not shaking.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was asking. Like,
Yeah,
Was there anything else? Yeah.
it was just like if someone was outside, like just shaking the crap out of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the washing machine was off, the dryer was off. No one was outside that I knew of. And so I just remember laying there, hearing the window going crazy. And this has never happened before. And I just remember laying there and saying it out loud, like, all right, Carlos, like, I know that's you. Stop being an asshole. Because my brother was an asshole. I love him, but he was an asshole. And that's something he would do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I felt comfort in a way when something like that would scare someone else, you know?
Yeah. I could see him doing that too.
Exactly. And I remember asking my mom, I didn't tell her what happened because my mom, no. But I
Yeah.
asked her, I was like, were you outside my window this morning by chance? And she was like, no, why? And I was like, oh, I was, curious. I just heard some noise, just wanted to see if it was you or not. So yeah, that's one of the things that I was able to confirm with my brother with the dowsing rods. Something only he would know about. Yeah, that's how I got into dowsing rods. That's one of my best experiences with the dowsing rods. But it's crazy because I don't really touch them. I don't really use them that often.
And that's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I just remember tripping out on like the feeling when I was holding the dowsing rods. And you said you felt it right before you handed them over to me, right?
Yeah.
Did you feel that before handing them over to me, or was there a reason why you wanted to your turn?
So you probably don't remember. I'm gonna have to remind you. But yeah, so I felt the vibration and like the warmth from them, and I was fine with that. And there was one question that we asked.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it was. I'm sure if we listened to the audio, we'd probably figure it out. But I could feel the rods trying to move, and then something pushed my hand. Do you remember that?
I think I do because then I remember tripping out that it happened to me. So we were both like, oh my God, yeah, I felt that too. So yeah, I do remember.
I don't know. I'm not sure what it is. I kind of panicked when that happened. You had said before, like, because this was right before that thing with your eyes happened. And you had told me before, like, you have never seen me that terrified in my life. And I think that, like, my hand being moved while using the dowsing rods played in with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't like a negative feeling, or it wasn't a positive feeling. It was just kind of like, somebody was trying to move it, use too much energy, and move my whole hand. And I'm used to seeing and hearing when it comes to paranormal things. We'll talk later about how, like, I've seen ghosts since I was little. Every once in a while I hear them too. That's just something that I'm used to. I have never had anything physical like that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't so much scare me as it tripped me out. Like, I had never experienced something like that before. And so I was just enough for one night for the first time. So
Yeah.
but yeah, after that thing with your eyes happened, like, I was fucking done. I was
Do you,
over it all.
I don't, just in case people skipped episode 5, do you want to briefly go over what happened with my eyes before people are like, what happened? Did she go cross-eyed? Did her eye fall out?
If you had went cross-eyed, that would have been, you know what, Veronica? If your eyes had fallen out, it would have been less tripped out than what actually happened.
What the heck? Dude, honestly, I thought you were gonna be braver than me. Like, I thought I would get scared before you. So seeing you scared and me feeling like chill, it was interesting. It was just an interesting, like, kind of, how do you, what do they call it? Turning tables? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I know what you're trying to say. The tables have turned.
Thank you. That was really hard.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. We were in the middle of a conversation. We were talking, and I wish there was video footage, but we only have the audio. We were talking. We were in the middle of a conversation, and you had the dowsing rods in your hands, and we were using them and whatever. And you were in the middle of talking. All of a sudden, you just stopped, like, mid-sentence, and you looked at me. But when you looked at me, your eyes, because it was dark outside, okay? And I said this in the last episode too. It was dark. I could see the white of your eyes, and I could see the middle of your eyes, which I couldn't see, the two different colors. It was all black. It was just a black circle, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing, we didn't have our phones on or any lighting, nothing. And your eyes turned pure white. And the look on your face, I saw the transition where you were like you were Veronica, my best friend of a long time, and I just saw in that instant that your eyes turned white, that you were completely somebody else. Like my best friend was not there. Like you were there, but you were not there.
And it happened so quick.
And it was only like 10 seconds, if that, but it felt like a lifetime. It felt like you were like, whoever you were staring directly at me. And it scared the living shit out of me.
That's so crazy that this situation involves me, but I have nothing to say. I don't know what to tell you, Chelsea.
It scared the living shit out of me. And at that point, I was like, Veronica, are we done? Because I'm fucking done. And then you asked, you asked this, whoever we were talking to, a couple more questions, and you asked, do you want us, are you done talking to us? And they said yes. And then you were like, do you want us to leave? And they said yes. And I was like, good, let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. I was getting a vibe where maybe they did want to talk to us, but they couldn't, or
maybe some of them did, some of them didn't, or something. I don't know. But after that happened with your eyes, it was bad vibes from there on. It was no longer that pressure that I had felt when we first got there. It was a get the fuck out of here vibe.
So then on the way home, obviously you're coming off your high.
Oh dude, I stopped being high around the time that my hand moved.
Oh, so you started sobering up at that point.
Yeah, I was sobering up really quick after that.
I asked you what you were thinking on the way to the bridge. So on the way home, what was going through your mind?
So many things. I was super excited to have finally had that physical paranormal experience. Because even when I've used Ouija boards, it's different. It wasn't like that. And so I was excited for that. And then I was also still seeing your white eyes, and I was just I was still tripping out about that.
So the eye thing lasted longer than what you made it feel like, because you tripped out, and then I looked at you and I was like, what? And then you told me your eyes, your fucking eyes. And then I think I went on my phone because I was like, I don't know what's happening. You're freaking me out. But you're seeing it for a good while before you even reacted, huh?
No, like I said, it was pretty quick. It was maybe not even 10 seconds. And I guess it was just me processing what was happening, what I was seeing. Because by the time that you finally asked me, you were like, what? It finally clicked where I could move, and I was freaking out.
Yeah, Chelsea's reaction, let's see, picture a child who when they get scared, they see something, say you put a kid in front of the TV screen and you play that maze video where eventually it's a pop-up.
Oh god.
And they get scared and they cover their eyes. That was Chelsea's reaction. If I was the scary pop-up, which I guess it technically was with my eyes. But that was Chelsea's reaction, and I've never seen you react nor did I ever expect you to react that way, especially at the bridge. I feel like the bridge is just 1 out of 10 as far as scary goes in haunted locations. So I was just like, girl, what?
Yeah, and like I said, it was just the fact that we're so close. You're basically my sister. We've known each other for so long. I could pick you out of a crowd, and it just, in that moment, that was not you. You were no longer there. And it just, I don't know, something about that just terrified me.
Mm-hmm.
If it had been a stranger or something, I probably would have been oh shit, that was super cool. But no, that was not cool. My best friend was gone. It was just, it was a crazy sensation. I would really appreciate never having to go through that again.
Really?
Yeah. Like I said,
Huh.
if it was a stranger, that's fine, but no, nobody that I care about, I can't do that.
I've never experienced that. And I don't know how I feel. I guess I'd have to like actually experience
Experience.
it, yeah, to see how I would react and feel about it afterwards. Right now, I'd say, it's okay. I'm not that scared. Like, it'd be like a crazy thrill moment,
Yeah.
and I probably wouldn't stop talking about it for a while, but
Yeah, and like I said, if it was a stranger, I probably would have felt that same way.
yeah.
But the fact that it was somebody I knew and like I know you so well,
Hmm.
and you just like you were sitting right in front of me and then you were gone. It was a weird feeling.
So, I heard you bring up Ouija boards a few times. Me personally, have only used it once and nothing happened, but I really do prefer using dowsing rods. So why do you like using Ouija boards? How did you get introduced to them? When did you buy your first one? And what was your first experience with like communicating with whatever it was you were communicating with?
I'm not exactly sure. Actually, yeah, I am. So when I was younger, I used to watch these movies that my mom had.
Hmm.
Um, and if I remember correctly, I do believe that they're just called Ouija. Maybe it's something different. I don't know. I would have to actually like look it up. But it was basically this girl moved into the first one, anyways. The girl moved into this new apartment. She found a Ouija board in the house and started using it, and all this, like all this stuff happened. Like it was a horror movie.
Hmm.
Um, but I found it so interesting, like just the concept of a Ouija board. And so I just started doing research, on the side. Wasn't like a big deal. I'd ask my mom about it because, this was before I came out as a witch. So I think her reaction to me talking about Ouija boards is probably why I was so freaked out about telling her that I was into witchcraft.
Hmm.
Because when I asked her, I was like, Mom, I was like, Ouija boards are real. Like, can we get one? And she just immediately, no.
Yeah.
And just like started like tripping out. And I was just like, what? And over the years, I've gotten bits of pieces. She has never talked about her experience with Ouija boards. And I can see the color drain out of her face whenever I bring up, why is she terrified of them? Like
Hmm.
she can talk about them no problem, but as soon as you bring up her experience with them, she just shuts down.
Hmm.
And all that I know is that she and a couple of friends used a Ouija board one time and something happened and she never touched one ever again. She didn't want one in the house. She didn't want anything to do with them. Like she can watch, like I said, she can talk about them. She can watch them with movies. She will not talk about her own experience though. She does not want anything to do with them. And her reaction actually kind of backfired and it made me more curious because if something scared my mom, like what's so bad about them? Like I want to know.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a bad thing on her end. Not
Well,
really.
do you think that if she did tell you like her experience that you don't think you would have grown in like curious just to see if like it was real or did that really happen? Like, will something like that happen for me?
I don't know. And maybe her not telling me her experience and her reaction to it is why I probably won't ever have an experience like her because
Hmm.
like I said, I have done so much research on Ouija boards. I don't know if again, this goes based on like, your beliefs and everything.
Hmm.
But for me, I believe that there is a safe way to use them.
Hmm.
And I practice that every single time that I've ever used it. I've only used a Ouija board maybe 4 or 5 times in my life. And it's, I physically have to be in the right mindset. I have to have, my whole little ritual thing like that I do, like everything. So I don't know if that came from her fear. So I don't think her not telling me deferred me in any way. I just think it played a part in how I went about it.
Hmm.
But yeah, so between that movie, the movie that I watched like a million times, and her reaction, I started researching Ouija boards and eventually I bought one. I believe when I bought it was definitely before my daughter was born. My oldest was born. But it was definitely after I graduated high school. So it was somewhere between me being 17 and 19. Or no, 20. Somewhere in between that.
Did you tell mom that you bought it?
No.
Hmm.
I didn't tell her I bought it. I didn't tell her it was in her house. I didn't, nothing.
When did she find out?
She never did. She probably will now when she listens to this, but.
Ooh. I'm excited. I'm excited to follow up.
I'm
Mom,
not.
wait. Mom, when you listen to this and you decide to confront Chelsea about this, please do it in a group text. I'd like to be witness.
I can just see it now. She's gonna fucking call me and I'm not gonna know why. I'm just gonna be like, "Hi, Mom." Probably gonna forget this whole conversation.
You know what? 3-way call. I'm so down. I'm okay with that too.
Oh my God, no. Now I'm terrified. But anyways, yes. Yeah, my husband's not a fan of the Ouija boards either. He doesn't really even like tarot cards or anything like that at all. Like, he's not strongly against it, but he's strongly against me using anything like that while he's in the house. Like whenever we do our tarot readings, yeah, he can't be in the house. He trips out.
You know what? To each their own.
Yeah, and you know what? He knew before we even got together. Like, we had the weirdest first date ever, and you know, we got all of our shit out on that first date, and so he knew that I was a witch and I was into tarot cards and all of that, and it didn't defer him or anything. He's just like, you know, that's one thing. Like, I believe like everybody should have their own beliefs and stuff. And then when we moved in together after we were married, because he had never seen my tarot cards or anything like that while we were still dating. And I was unpacking and I had my cards and he's like, "Oh, well, what's these?" And he picked them up. And I was like,
"You're
"Oh,
not
those are my
supposed to touch them, right?"
They were covered. They were wrapped. Yeah, they were wrapped. He picked them up, started to unwrap them. I'm like, "Oh, it's my tarot cards." When I tell you that he dropped those like he was on fucking fire, I was not joking.
What the heck?
Yeah, he was just like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, those are my tarot cards." And he's like, "Okay, you know, this is when we were still newlyweds, had been married for maybe 2 months, if that, before we got our own place. Before we got married, we had never lived together. You know, we slept at each other's houses and all that, but that was like to the extent of it. And for those of you that don't know, we were only dating for 6 months before we got married, but that's kind of when he sat down with me and he's like, "Okay," he's like, you believe in that stuff, you use them, like, that's no problem." He's like, "But we're gonna have a sit down talk and we're gonna discuss house rules." And I was like, "House rules?" I was like, you realize that I don't follow rules, right?" And he's like, he so he, you know, he put what made, he's like, "You know, you can use them all you want." He's like, "I just please don't do them around me." Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, you can respect that. It's like what you said earlier when that person was like, "You know what? I'm just not comfortable talking about like my faith or whatever it was." Like, respectful. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was totally fine with it. And like with the tarot cards, like he can look at them. He doesn't want like them being used or like near him. But the Ouija board, no, he can't see that at all. He said, "No, keep that the far fuck away from me."
Interesting. I want to dive more into like why.
No, it has to do with the way that he was raised, and he's told me this before, that he just believes that all of that stuff is negative energy. And that has more to do, you know, he was naive to all of that. And the way that he was brought up is, you know, like most people, you know, sometimes people are raised that way, and you can't just expect to forget something that you've come to learn, you know, right away. So,
yeah.
But we have an understanding and we have a respect for those objects and stuff. And don't even get me started on my witch's ball when he found out what was in that. Oh my God, that was hilarious.
I love it. The reaction video coming on up. Imagine.
You know what? I wish I had recorded his reaction. Okay, so I gotta tell you now. My mom and I celebrate Yule. Okay, we don't celebrate Christmas. We only celebrate Christmas with our families because that's what they celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom and I always have when I go to her house for Christmas celebration, we do our Yule celebration kind of on the side away from everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she gave me my Yule gift, and it was a witch's ball. It's for house protection, and I was so excited. I had never had uh, my own witch's ornament. And so she was telling me about all the different things that were in it, and one of the ingredients is it has graveyard dirt.
Huh.
And the graveyard dirt is from a graveyard of witches from a coven.
What
And go ahead,
did
what?
did she make it, or did she buy it?
She bought it. She bought
Okay.
it from, yeah, she bought it from a group that she talks to,
Mm-hmm.
and they have their own coven and they make trinkets and stuff for other people. But so she bought it from them, and I was so excited because the power of protection in a witch's ball that
Mm-hmm.
comes from a graveyard full of witches is just like unfathomable to me. And I was super excited. So, John and I have an understanding about witchy things, and he was, I showed him and he's like, "Oh, that's cool." And I was like, "Don't touch it." He goes, "You don't have to tell me twice." He's like, "I'm not going to touch it."
Would you mind
So,
sending me a picture? I'm curious to see what it looks like.
yeah, I'll post it on Instagram.
Perfect.
So, a couple weeks go by, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And somebody came over to my house. I don't remember who it was. I don't know who I was talking to.
Mm-hmm.
But they were asking me about it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's a witch's ball." And they were curious, they wanted to know what it was. And like, my mother-in-law is completely different from John. She actually like wants to know more,
Mm-hmm.
which I find really interesting. But so I was talking to some, "What's this?" And they were pointing towards the dirt. And I was like, "Oh, it's just some dirt." And they were like, "Oh, what kind of dirt?" And I was like, "Just dirt." And John happened to come in at that time, and the person was just like, "Well, where did they get the dirt from? Is it like special dirt?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's special dirt." And finally John joined in the conversation. He's like, "Tell me, like, what is it? Like, what kind of dirt?" And I just I knew in that instant, I was like, I'm not going to get out of not saying what it is. And I was trying to, on the spot, come up with some lie that wasn't going to be as terrifying as graveyard dirt to him.
I was gonna say maybe don't mention the witch part, just like, yeah, dirt from the cemetery, but never mind.
I tried. I really did. I tried. I was not thinking in that moment. So it just popped out. I was like, it's graveyard dirt. And the look on John's face, he was like, "I'm sorry, what?" I was like, "Yeah, it's graveyard dirt." And the person that was talking to me was completely oblivious to his reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And was like, "Graveyard dirt from where?" I was like, "From a coven of witches." And oh my god, dude. You know those cartoons where like the eyes pop out of the head and all?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was John.
Oh my gosh. I can picture it.
So yeah, his reaction was priceless.
I love it.
So yeah, we learned to respect each other's stuff. Like, my witch's ball is sitting out in the open, but he won't touch it, go near it. He doesn't even acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this week, instead of doing a tarot card reading, we're actually going to be talking about our experience with them. So Veronica, I know you're more recently into tarot cards than I am. You want to talk about what got you into them?
You.
What?
I said you.
I did?
Yeah, because the first experience I ever had with tarot cards, the first time I ever even learned what they were was with you. And I forgot what episode we talked about this, but we talked about that one time that you did the tarot card reading for our friend at the time and how she started crying because,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was just really spot on. And what it mentioned and talked about was something like personal to her and upsetting.
Yeah.
And I will always remember that experience. I remember where I was sitting. I remember like the type of day it was,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I never really thought of it too much after that, but now that I've gotten more in touch with my spirituality, with being more in about my guilty pleasure of, like, I don't want to say ghost hunting, but like haunted locations and like just stuff like that. I wanted a way to try to communicate with spirits and not put myself in any danger. And I thought tarot cards was the safest way. It's the one thing I really have any kind of past experience with.
Mm-hmm.
And so a few years ago, I bought my first deck. Simple, basic deck from Amazon. I didn't need anything crazy or themed. And I remember starting to do readings with other people, with like Stephanie. And it was the first time I think I did a legit reading with someone or for someone else other than myself. And it was just, the messages were just clear. I don't know how to explain it, but we were doing like a past life spread. And for Stephanie, it's interesting because the cards were, obviously like, who were you in your past life? What did you finish like your goal in that lifetime? Like, whatever your destiny was. And so the way the cards described her in her past life is very similar to who she is now, present day. She's helping others, she cares for others. So we were like, oh my gosh, you were like a nurse type thing, like that's just the message that or not the message, the vibe I was getting off of the cards. And not knowing at the time, that was me like interpreting the cards in my own way. At the time, I didn't realize that I was interpreting those messages, or those cards, you know what I mean? To where now I know, like, that actually plays a huge role when you're doing tarot card reading.
Mm-hmm.
And towards the end of the reading, it was like, how did she die? And I don't remember what the cards were. I don't remember the specific, like, messages, but let me just tell you the story that we ended up learning about Stephanie's past life, or what we got from it. So Stephanie was a nurse in her past life, or like somewhat of a caregiver like she is today. She was in love. She did have a significant other. Her significant other got sick, didn't make it. Stephanie tried to help him, couldn't, ended up taking her own life. Or I think, yeah, no, I think that's how it was. And if I'm wrong and Stephanie's listening to this, please let me know. And what's crazy is, she took her own life, and then she started bringing up about a birthmark that she has on the back of her head, which would be a perfect position if she ever like put a gun into her mouth and pulled the trigger. You know what I mean? Because with the cards, it said that she was just too heartbroken to like go on.
Mm-hmm.
So we were both kind of tripping out on it. You know us. We kind of giggled like, what the fuck? And then her mom came in and we were kind of talking to her about it. Like, yeah, so this just happened. And she confirmed like, oh yeah, you have the birthmark in the back of your head. So that was the first reading I ever did with someone else. And it was quite the experience, the story we ended up with. I do have another experience that I'd love to tell you about, because it's the first time my cards weren't accurate, but were accurate afterwards.
Okay.
If that makes sense, which it doesn't, but let me explain. So, I had this friend, and this friend was around more because they're good company, not because they're good people. And they wanted a tarot card reading. So I was like, cool, for sure. And instead of the cards being accurate to the question she had asked, they were just saying things like untrustworthy, unfaithful, unloyal, disloyal, whatever it is.
Oh my god, I remember you telling me about this.
Mm-hmm. And just betrayal, like just negative things, negative energy, like it was nothing but bad things, right? So I kind of like looked at the person and I was like, I'm sorry, like I'm just gonna stop because they're not making sense, and this is like the first time this has happened. Maybe I didn't cleanse them right, because I myself have a ritual with my tarot cards. And it just didn't make sense at the time. I was kind of like, oh, sorry, it didn't work, like whatever. And then a couple shady things happened with that individual. And in that moment, it just clicked in my head. My tarot cards were not giving her the answers she wanted because the tarot cards were too busy trying to warn me about who this individual really was.
Yeah.
And that person doesn't know. Obviously, that person knows what the cards were saying because I was like reading them out loud and we were both confused. Like, wait, what? What does that mean? But that person doesn't know that eventually that's the message that the cards are trying to give me. It was a warning because I feel like when I use my tarot cards, it's my spirit guides. It's my whatever spirits are around me, whether you want to consider them your guardian angels, your spirit guides, your whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another experience I had with my tarot cards. And that's when I realized that the connection I have with my cards, the positive connection I have with my cards and how they have my back. And in that time, I also realized I need to use these cards for good, not for fun. You know what I mean? For guidance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my experience with tarot cards. And since then, like Stephanie gifted me oracle cards for my birthday. She got me a new tarot deck. So yeah, that's my experience with tarot cards.
I don't know why I'm so shocked to learn that I'm the one that got you into tarot cards.
Yeah, you were the one that introduced me to it. Like, if it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't have gotten introduced to tarot cards till now with like social media.
Yeah, that's true. I know how your parents are, and tarot cards are definitely like the last thing that they would ever teach you about.
Yeah, they don't know. That's a weird thing about growing up in this type of like Mexican household is that like unfortunately like if you were to do like a little quiz with my parents and ask them questions about me, like, oh, what's your favorite book? What's your favorite movie? They're most
They would
likely
never
not
know.
they're not gonna know the answer. They don't know me, unfortunately. It's sad, I know. Whatever. It's a different topic for a different type of podcast. But yeah. So yeah, like I remember you mentioned it in the past episodes, that your grandfather introduced you to tarot cards?
No. My mom introduced me to tarot cards, but when I was younger, she gave me my grandfather's, tarot cards, her
Oh, I see,
dad's.
I see, I see.
Yeah. Which really shocks me, like, of what I know about him, that he would have them.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was, from what I remember, a religious person. I don't think he went to church and all that, but I know he wore like medallions and a cross and all of that. But he passed when I was 6, so I guess I don't know him as well as my mom and her brother would, and so I mean I'm sure there's a lot about him I don't know, but she gave me his tarot cards and I still have them. When I started using them, it was, like you said in the beginning, like it was just something to play around with, and like our friend that I made cry that one time, it was like the shock factor that I liked, but it was really actually her reading where I realized like these aren't toys, they're not cool, they're something that's actually going to show you what you may not want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started taking them seriously. And so I still practiced and used his cards until I was older and I was able to afford my own deck that I bought myself. I got it with babysitting money. And so I bought my first deck, and at the time I was very gothic, emo, whatever you want to call it. Like however I don't really like to
Label
what's
it.
the word? Yeah, I don't like to label it. I used to be like, oh yeah, like we were scene kids or whatever, but I was kind of like a mix of everything. Like
You
I
were
was not
quite
as
interesting back in the
yeah, I
day.
was
You
not
and
as
Stephanie, man. Oh wait, Taylor too.
yeah, I wasn't like stereotypical anything. I was just me.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I bought a vampire gothic set that I really really love still. I think the artwork is beautiful, but when I started getting older, not so much like being out of that phase, but I started losing the connection with them. Like I had a connection with my grandfather's cards. And when I got older and was becoming my own person, I got a new deck that I resonated with. Then I started losing that connection. So I bought another deck, and with that deck I also bought 2 different sets of oracle cards because I was interested in learning more about those.
Mm-hmm.
So I had at the time 3 tarot decks and 2 decks of oracle cards. And oracle cards for me are very different from tarot, so I don't resonate with those as much as I do with tarot. Like, anytime I do any type of divination, I need questions answered, or I need to, I get this itch sometimes and this like anxious feeling that I need to just touch the cards and see what they have to say. It's always been tarot from the very beginning. Since I got my very first deck from my mom, that was my grandfather's.
Yeah.
And, so I started losing a connection with the deck that I had bought after that. And my mom just recently, let's see, the Witch's Ball was 2 years ago for Yule. Last year for Yule, she got me a new deck of tarot cards. And that's the one that I've been using while we've been doing the podcast right now. And it's very simple. They're just black cards with gold foil. Very pretty. But I've been looking for something specific. I'm not sure what it is. I'm hoping that when I see it, I'll find it, or like just like know whatever. But for now, I've got these 4 decks of tarot cards that I love using them. They each give me different feelings, so I use them for different reasons. Like my grandpa's cards, I use for personal. Like I hardly ever use those on other people. My vampire set I use for darker questions. When somebody like darker, deeper questions. But yeah, so they all give me like different feelings and everything. And then I also, I'm super excited because I subscribe to this book box. Okay. And they do 2 tarot cards every month in their box. Yeah. And they're all book characters.
I love that.
Yeah, so eventually they're gonna have the full 72 deck. I think when the last time I calculated, it was supposed to finish maybe not next year, maybe the year after or sometime. But they're gonna have a full 72 card deck. And so far, I'm only missing, I think 4 or 6 cards because I didn't start getting them until after they started producing them because I was like, oh my god, that's really cool. So I've been getting the cards and everything. So I just need those last 6 and then I'll have them, but they're not going to sell them all till the whole deck is finished, which, makes sense. But so yeah,
That's really
I'm
cool. I
super
love that.
excited. Yeah, I'm super excited to have that completed deck. I'm super excited. I can't wait. I feel like that's probably going to be what I use the most after that.
Yeah, keep me posted. Well, I mean, I'll try to remember like to ask you like to follow up on that because that's pretty cool. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I'll send you
That's
some
such a
pictures.
smart idea.
Yeah. And some people don't really like them, but you can't make everybody happy. I personally, I love it. That's the only reason I subscribe to them at all. There was something else I was going to say. Let me think. Hold on. Oh, there was also this one deck that I'm keeping an eye out. It's one of those things where, people, you have to pay ahead, and when they reach enough money, then they'll like print them out and all that. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so I found this deck that I really want, and they have like all the artwork done and everything, but they have to pay all the artists and they can't, publish them until they pay them, so they're trying to get enough pre-orders and stuff for it. But it's a literary tarot deck, and every card is based on classic literature characters. So you've got like Dracula characters, Pride and Prejudice, Wuthering Heights, all of the classic characters that everybody knows, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, like all of them.
Yeah.
Like all the classic literary figures, they're in there. And I'm so excited for it, and I really hope I don't like doing stuff like that where you pre-order it and if you get it, if they get enough money, then they give it to you. Because I'm always worried, I'm always worried like I'm not going to get my money back if they don't do it, or like I'm going to forget about it and because I never get them, and then like they'll just keep my money. So I'm waiting for them to reach their goal.
Hopefully they do.
Yeah, I'm really hoping they do. The cards are beautiful.
Cool. Send me pictures.
I will. I'll send you the link and show you. So that's all we've got this week for you, Ghosties. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of us just basically chit-chatting. Like, you really didn't learn anything except for some facts about us, but
I'm curious to know if people have noticed how you went from like your energy level.
what do you mean?
Your energy level from the beginning of the podcast till, I mean, in reality, we've been recording for 2 hours.
Oh my god.
And I just hear how tired you are when you speak. And I just find it so funny because I'm like, bro, I'm so energized. Like, let's do another 2 hours. Fuck it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
But
no, I can't.
I love that. I wonder if people notice because it's just funny to me.
Yeah, it has to do with us recording like for as long as we have. I have dry mouth really bad right now, and I'm trying to like take drinks of water in between talking without getting the sound on the recording.
I
It's
love
very
it.
difficult. Yeah, and then, I've got a sick husband in the bathroom right now, so it's a lot going on.
Okay, let's say our goodbyes.
Let us know in the comments on social media and everything if you have any experiences in tarot cards or dowsing rods or Ouija boards. And if you've ever been to Colorado Bridge, we'd love to hear your experience or see some pictures that you've had.
Yeah, if you want to post your pictures or videos, like tag us, use our hashtag, Tales of Spooky Coffee House. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what other people like experience and if it compares to like our experience, you know?
Yeah, and if you've got any other type of experiences, share them with us. We've got so many more experience episodes coming out. Like we didn't even get to talk about any haunted places or ghosts or any of those type of experiences this week. So we've got lots of stuff planned out for the future.
I'm really excited. Also, stay tuned for next Tuesday. Do you want to tell them what's going to happen next Tuesday?
Sure. So next Tuesday, we are going to release a short segment called Book Talk Tuesdays. And
Hey!
yeah, this will probably happen like maybe once a month or so, where we're going to just have a quick chat, maybe 20 minutes, if 30, if that, where we talk about the book that we've been reading. So the book that we just finished is The Family Tree by Steph Mullen and Nicole Mayberry.
Follow
Mabry.
them on Instagram.
Yeah, follow them on Instagram. Fun story. They've actually talked to us, like they tagged us and thanked us for reading the book, and they're now following us on Instagram. We're super excited to hear from them. So I'm super excited to talk about this book. Like,
Yeah,
there's so much.
I'm so excited. Like I need to talk to someone about this book. This is like maybe only the second book I've ever read that's like made me cry.
Yeah, you know what? I was tearing up at some parts too. Like, it was just like there's a blurb on the front cover of the copies that we have, anyways, from Lisa Gardner. And if you've read any of her books, I love her writing. And she blurbed the book, and it says, "This thriller keeps the shocks coming right up into the climactic end."
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, she is not lying.
Nope. Dude, we need to record that ASAP because I'm excited to talk about it.
Me too. It's gonna be so exciting.
If you guys want to read the book, however, maybe don't. We're going to do it over Zoom. At least we're going to try to. We don't want to promise anything yet because sometimes we have technical difficulties, but we're going to do a Zoom call and record that call and then post it on YouTube. But if you guys are interested in reading the book, maybe don't watch it because there's going to be spoilers for sure. So this is
Oh
your
yeah.
spoiler alert.
Yeah, so yeah, if you are interested in reading this book at all, yeah, don't listen to it or watch it. But if you're right now, if you're not interested in it and we make you interested in it, then just, you'll probably know like what's gonna happen and all that. But it's a really good book.
It's a page turner. Like it's almost like after every chapter, especially the victim chapters, like if I were to stop reading, it's like a cliffhanger. Like I just want to know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and as a writer myself, that's the best way to write a book, is to leave each chapter as a cliffhanger, because that's what makes readers want to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And these two writers they nailed it like so well. Like, I could not put it down. Like, every time they ended a chapter, I'm like, no, wait, don't stop.
I'm not gonna lie. So I would read this book during my lunch at work. There might have been a couple lunches where I went back to work a little late because I couldn't stop reading. I was like, no, I need to keep going.
I didn't take my book to work because I learned the hard way that I can't put this book down, or I couldn't put the book down when I didn't go to bed until 11 o'clock at night. And for those of you that don't know, I have to be up at like
Yeah, I was
3:30
like,
to get ready for work.
yeah.
And I just kept reading and reading, and John kept, mentioning like, "Hey, you gonna go to bed?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go after this chapter."
Three
Fucking like
chapters later.
yeah, no, it was more like 15 chapters later.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I was so dead the next day, and then as soon as I got home, I'm like, I'm gonna take a nap. But when I actually got home, I picked up the book and kept reading.
Yeah, it's just, I love it. I freaking love it. It's probably like my top 2 favorite books right now.
If we're saying right now, I can agree with that. But if we're saying like all time, I can't agree with that. Mainly because I've read so many fucking books that like it's
Well,
definitely in my top 10 though. It's definitely in the top 10.
it's definitely been my favorite book this year because I've read a few books already this year. And out of the few books I've read, did you just yawn? Did you hear that, people? Did you hear her yawn? Trying to do it quietly? Anyways.
I'm so sorry. I really the tone and everything.
It's
I could
okay.
not.
I
I
had
could
to
not
point it
stop
out,
that.
though. I had to point it out. That was just funny. But yeah, this year for sure it's been my favorite book of all time. It's definitely on my top 5 because there's other really great books that I've read. I wouldn't put like a number to it, but it's up there. It's really good.
So yeah, make sure you guys check out Book Talk Tuesday next week. We'll talk about our opinions and certain things in the book and our interpretation or what we think actually happened. Because if you've read it yet, the book leaves it open for interpretation, which I really like. So we'll talk about that, and then we will talk about our next book that we're going to read, and we'll give you the title then. For now, that's all we've got, Ghosties. So we hope that you enjoyed this really long episode.
Well, look, it's long to us now, but after you edit it, it might not be that bad.
Yeah, you're right. So as it stands now, guys, we're at over 2 hours. Okay, so we'll see how long this episode actually turns out to be, but thanks for listening, and we're your hosts. I'm Chelsea.
I'm Veronica.
Spooky weekend, guys.
Bye.